So I think post All-Star is about the time to start looking towards the playoffs, and the Nuggets are one of the most interesting teams in the West to me, potentially even the most interesting, because they might be the most versatile team out of everybody. I mean, you could argue that the Clippers are more versatile because they have so many guys who can defend multiple positions, and they can go Montrez, Zubac, they can do a bunch of stuff. But I think that the Nuggets' chemistry is way better than the Clippers is. I think the Clippers sometimes just look like a bunch of dudes who just happen to be on the same team, whereas the Nuggets, everyone's buying into playing off of Jokic and letting him bring the ball up floor, and the handoff plays, and Murray setting screens for Jokic sometimes. Then you got Millsap, who can post up on switches. And then there's Michael Porter Jr., who might be the biggest X factor in the entire postseason, and we'll have to see how many minutes he plays down the rest of this regular season. Then you've got still some solid defensive versatility. I mean, Jamal Murray's been better. Gary Harris can defend, both guard positions, I would say. Torrey Craig is this team's go-to on-ball defender. Then you got Millsap, who can switch when need be, and I just think the Nuggets have a lot of options depending on whatever matchup they get. I mean, as of right now, it would be them against Dallas in round one, which that's pretty damn wild. I mean, to be seeing Luka in the first round, and I mean, I think Luka, he's been back for a little bit now, so we'll see if the Mavericks can get out of that 7th seed. But, in this type of a series, are you putting Torrey Craig on Luka and just being like, listen, man, you got 6 fouls, and don't give him any easy stuff? Now, even then, Craig has played 18 minutes a game this year, but he also played similar last regular season, but then they gave him more minutes in the postseason. So I could picture something like that happening again. But then again, Michael Porter Jr. remains, again, the X factor, where I think if you have to give him the minutes, and we can all understand why you'd want to, maybe that pushes someone like Torrey Craig out of the rotation. I don't know. But I think other things is this Denver team, I think they play a bit above themselves defensively, in the sense of, there's maybe not a defensive player of the year candidate on this team, or even an all-defense candidate for that matter. Well, Millsap actually, I think, has its shot at the second team. So, okay, there's one guy. But, there's no Giannis, there's no Gobert or Anthony Davis, and yet everybody buys into whatever the defense is against a particular matchup, So against the Mavs, again, I could picture them doing really well with trapping Luka sometimes and then closing out to shooters. I can picture them being able to switch on a Luka screen across a few positions, maybe not all of them, but quite a few. And I can say similar things if they were to run into OKC in round one. And if we assume the Nuggets win their round one series, and then the Clippers would win theirs, and these two teams met in the second round, I guess that would be really pushing the whole chemistry versus talent and shot making thing. And I think at a certain point, you're just going to need a second dude to give you 20 plus points a game. And I mean, I don't want to harp on this too much because I've said my fair share of things about Jamal Murray. He's had a great 5-game stretch before the All-Star game. We'll have to see if he keeps it up. I think sometimes he can sink into the playoff of Jokic stuff a little too much. I do think there's a balance between Jokic is amazing, but also sometimes you just need to let Jamal Murray go a little bit, whether that's allowing him to just attack a mismatch or him just looking to shoot a little bit more, maybe a pull-up 3. Because I think he could do more of those. He doesn't shoot as many threes as I would really think he can make, to me, he can be a guy attempting 10 threes a game, and he's attempting, 5? I don't know. He just seems like a better shooter than that, But even with all that, I think another thing to be said about this Nuggets team is the potential for them to be a really awesome shooting team. I mean, I think, again, Michael Porter Jr. comes into play here because if you're going to be giving him minutes, I'm assuming teams are not just going to leave him wide open. And I think that would be huge against a team like the Clippers, where if you're going to be able to go at a great defensive team, you probably want to be able to stretch them out, you know? I mean, you give Kawhi and PG and Beverly and Morris and whoever else one guy that they don't have to really care about, that could be the difference in a series. And between Will Barton, Murray, Monte Morris, Porter, that would hopefully be enough. I mean, Gary Harris's shot has fallen off this year, and that's a little alarming. Jeremy Grant's percentage is good, but I feel like teams are still going to dare him to shoot, so I guess he could be a bit of a swing player in a series. And a similar thing could be said for Millsap. I mean, he only attempts about 2 threes a game, but even then, I feel like with Millsap, if you leave him open, he'll go off the dribble and make the next play, you know what I mean? Because he's just a very smart player. But even with all those nice things being said about this team, is it once again just going to come down to who's got the guy who can make tough shot after tough shot? I mean, I think it's always an interesting thing. It happens every playoffs, and the Nuggets ran into that in Game 7 against the Blazers, and it didn't happen, but even then it was very close. So if we talk about a Clippers series again, it's the Nuggets could play a better series than the Clippers. You know, they could move the ball better. They could have better communication on defense. Mike Malone could even outcoach Doc Rivers. And if Kawhi Leonard hits 4 contested threes and you end up losing the game by 2 points, there you go. You know what I mean? And I think we've been programmed as fans, or at least I have, to believe you're just going to need your own version of that guy. And, I mean, for as great as Jokic is, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to be the only big-time scorer and beat a really good team in the playoffs. Which, again, is why I think Michael Porter Jr. remains such an interesting player down the stretch here. Are the Nuggets just going to all the way buy in on giving him the minutes? Even then, are we asking too much of the guy? I mean, he's played 39 games in the NBA. Should we really just be like, all right, man, we need an ISO scorer for whoever, and you're going to be defended by Paul George on these next, 4 possessions. Can you please get us some buckets? That might be a little too much to ask of the guy. So, yeah, I feel like that's about all I got. I guess talking about other random playoff matchups, if the Nuggets met the Rockets in round 1, which there'd have to be a little bit of playoff shuffling for that to happen. But if that did occur, then that would be pretty wild, because then Jokic is going to have to be spaced out rather than chilling around the basket, because, you know, I do want to give the Rockets a few more games before I do a video on the small ball stuff, but, you know, against the Jazz, they were forcing Gobert to just stand in the corner sometimes, you know what I mean? It's either that or he was defending Westbrook one-on-one and just daring him to take jumpers, so it's like, would the Nuggets do the same thing? We doing a Jokic defending Westbrook thing? I don't know. Houston's very interesting, and I think the way teams choose to defend them in a playoff series is going to be something kind of wild to watch. Nuggets and Jazz would also be cool because of the Gobert-Jokic thing. It would be the idea of, is Jokic going to be on the perimeter a lot, and will that force Gobert to come out, and is Gobert going to dare Jokic to take a shot so he's a little closer to the rim, and then is Jokic's 3 going to be there, and can he beat Gobert off the dribble, you know? It'll be cool. The West is going to be very fun. We've got about 25 games before we get there.